All right. Some people have asked me how I make my presets in software. So I thought I'd just give you a quick run through of what I do. I'm going to use the Line 6 Pod HD500 software. I'm using the Pod hardware, the HD500. Really good hardware. The stuff that I go through here, you can use in any piece of software, but I really like the way that the HD500 works, so that's what I'm going to use. So what I'm going to do is a crunchy tone. This is how I like my tones to sound. As you can see, I've got one built here. I've been working on this one for a while. It's not so much how much you put into it, it's the settings I think that you use on each one. So here's how I kind of like mine to sound. Something like that. It's got a nice hard crunch to it, but it's not so over the top metal that you can't even make out the notes. And I think that's part of the problem that some people use when they're making a tone. They just put in the heaviest amps they can find and crank it right up. Everything is right on 10, and that doesn't always work so well. I like to be able to hear those notes, those individual notes. When you're playing simple chords, you should be able to hear it, not just hear mud and fuzz. So let's make a new tone here. There we go. Okay, so what you're going to want to do first is pick an amp. And we can go in here. You can pick a pre if you want, but let's go for a full amp. So let's try the tread plate. That's a really good one. I like that amp a lot. And before we go too far, there we go. Let's put in a noise gate. See what the threshold is. You're gonna have to play with this as you start making the preset, but just so that you don't get blasted with loud noises. So here's what the basic setup of the tread plate model is in the HD500. So you've got a pretty decent crunch sound already, and you don't need to crank everything up. This is the first amp of two that we're going to put in this preset, and you can see here how that amp is right in the center, so that's the only amp in there. So let's put a bit of bass on this. I always recommend not doing the same types of things on both amps. So make one, kind of heavy and bassy, make the other one, maybe a little bit of treble in it, and then, when you mix them together, you get a really nice sound. Now the drive you can crank up as much as you want. So let's crank that up a bit. And again, we won't worry about delays or chords. Just give it a little strum and see how it sounds. I'm going to make the tread plate a little bit bassy. Now, all of these settings, we're going to go back and we're going to have to, play around with them as we go. But you want to get it to the point where, you like the sound. You can play with that. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. You can tell that the noise gate isn't coming on too quick there, so there's amp one. Basic, we are going to have to come back to it, but that's that gives us something to work with. Now, to get a second amp in here, all you have to do is click on this amp and move it up here. There you go. Now it tells the Pod software that you want to have 2 amps, and you also have 2 amp sections down here. So let's pick a second amp. You don't have to go all out and pick a bomber or something like that in order to get a good crunchy sound. My favorite amp, I have a JCM 800 myself, so I always like that. So I'll put one of those in. So you have a real crunchy amp in the JCM 800 and the tread plate. So let's turn off the tread plate amp and just go with the 800. Now in this one, we're going to do a little bit more presence and some extra treble in there to really boost this up. And that will offset what we have with the tread plate amp. Now the early reflections here, you can adjust that to however you like. I like to actually add a little bit in there myself. It gives it a bit of room and a bit more space. So, just play around with it. Get your settings how you like them. And, move over to the mixer here. I like to, kind of pan them like that. So you get something coming out you get some leakage going out of both sides there. So now let's set some volumes. There we go. So, you can see that bit more bassy up top here, and that's fine. You've still got some good chunky sound in there. Now, I would strongly recommend that you use the amps to get the majority of your tone. I mean, you can go in and throw on all kinds of pedals. But you're really masking the sound of the amp, in my opinion. I try and get closest to the sound that I can with the amps, and that may mean going through and, adjusting each one of the amp settings by 1 or 2, putting it up, putting it down, testing out different things just to see how it works. And you can go in here and, if you want to do something, let's say a screamer. Screamer's always a good one. That's a classic. So if you want to put a screamer and having it placed right here, that will put the screamer on both amps. So everything back here goes on both amps. Now, I think that's a bit too much for the tread plate because I don't think it needs any more gain. However, the 800 works really well with a bit more gain, and you can see now the screamer is only going to be put on the 800. All you had to do was just drag it down there, add a bit more drive there. Now you can go back into the amps because we have some bass and treble that we put on here, so you might want to boost it up just a little bit. We can back off some of these. You see what I mean? It's just a matter of going in and testing everything out. So this one's kind of being overrun right now. That's a bit better, you know. You want to make sure that the volume coming out is split between the amps. I like this type of panning, as I've said, so you've got a little bit of leakage coming through on both sides. And you know, you can go in and change the mics and stuff too. I mean, they give you Line 6 gives you quite a bit of different mics, quite a few of them in here. Same with the cab models. You can go and change that to whatever you want. Maybe you might want an Uber cab on there instead. I just left them for the sake of this video. I just left them at the default values. So, you know, now we've kind of got some big crunch going on. And you can hear, you know, all the notes, every string that you strum, you can hear. And I think that's the way that it should be. You know, you can crank it up if you need to for a solo, but you can still get some pinch harmonics and some screams just the way that we have it now. You know, so you're not lacking in any gain. It's just sounding nice and clear. So now we can go in and add delay. Now, all of these pedals you can put wherever you want. I mean, you can put them before the amps, after the amps. It doesn't really matter. It's all your personal preference. So I'm gonna put let's take a stereo delay. I'm gonna put a stereo delay in there, and as you can see, because it's after, just the opposite of what we had here. Anything before goes before both amps. Anything after is already through the mixer, so both amps are going through the delay. So the same way that we went through these other effects, do the same with the delay till it suits your preference. That's kind of nice. I like that. Again, whatever sounds good to you. Now let's take some reverb. We can just leave it at the plate. Might actually turn down the delay a bit more. I like to use things like delay and reverb to expand the tone that I already have, but you have to really have something that you like first. I mean, if you start adding effects right off, you don't even know if you like the sound of the amps that you have. So go in, make sure that you have the amps that you like, the cabinets that you like, the mics, all the settings. Play around with these until you're absolutely satisfied. And then go back and put on some effects and some delay to widen the tone image that you have. It'll be well worth your while, and you know, you'll have a really good tone. So that's it. Thanks for watching.